After letting my wife's parents stay in our vacation cabin for the winter, I went up one weekend to find my name removed from every document inside. We made a few changes, her father said. My wife just smiled and said, "It's still family property." I drove back that night, found the original purchase agreement in my fireproof safe, and mailed it to one person they never expected. Let me start by saying I'm not the type of guy who causes scenes. I don't yell. I don't break things. I try to be fair. That's what makes this whole thing sting even more. I'm Rob, 42 years old. Been married to Tessa for almost 10 years. We live in Missoula, Montana. No kids, which now feels like a damn miracle. She works part-time at a clinic. I manage construction crews. We were doing all right. House paid off. Steady income. Nothing fancy, but solid. About 4 years ago, I bought a small cabin near Flathead Lake. It was mine. All my money bought before we were even married. I wanted a place where I could fish, breathe, and not hear traffic or deal with anyone's crap. I worked hard for that place. It was my spot. I'd take Tessa up there sometimes, but honestly, she never cared for it like I did. She liked hotels, Wi-Fi, brunch places. Still, I always said it was ours when I talked about it just to be kind. I didn't think that would come back to bite me. Then came winter 2 years ago. Her dad, Mark, lost his job. Some accounting firm let him go. Her mom, Lacey, didn't work much. Did some craft fair stuff, but nothing serious. Suddenly, they were in trouble. Couldn't afford their place in Spokane anymore. Credit cards maxed out. Mark was talking about staying in a motel for the winter. Tessa came to me crying. Said we had to do something. Said they just needed time. I wasn't thrilled. The cabin was mine. But I told her okay if they signed a temporary agreement. I wrote it myself. Said they could stay through winter, rent-free, but had to leave by May unless we both agreed to extend. They weren't allowed to make major changes and that the property remained legally mine. I had it notarized by a buddy. It wasn't fancy, but it was legally sound. Tessa rolled her eyes. "They're not strangers," she said. "It's just for a little while." I should have listened to my gut right then. Anyway, they moved in around mid-November. I stayed out of it. Let them have their space. I was busy at work and figured I'd visit in the spring. Every now and then I'd ask how things were going. Tessa would say things like, "Oh, they painted the guest room. Looks better now. Dad's fixing the porch steps. Mom replaced some of the curtains." It all sounded minor. I didn't think much of it. Then came April. I had a Saturday free and decided to drive up just for the day. I didn't tell Tessa. Wanted to surprise them. Maybe fish a little. I brought beer, some snacks, and my old tackle box. But the moment I pulled up the drive, something fell off. There was a new gate with a keypad, not a lock I gave them. A metal gate I didn't approve. That already had me pissed. Then I walked up to the front door and my key didn't work. They had changed the locks. I knocked. No answer at first. I knocked harder. Finally, the door opened. Mark stood there like he wasn't even surprised to see me. Just leaned on the door frame and said, "You should have called ahead." I said, "What the hell happened to my key?" He smiled. That smug kind of smile. We made a few changes. I stepped inside. He didn't try to stop me, but he didn't exactly move out of the way either. Lacey was in the kitchen like she owned the place. Tessa came out of the hallway a few seconds later. She looked right at me and smiled. "It's still family property," she said like that made it okay. I ignored her and walked through the place. Furniture was different. My chair, the recliner I bought with my first bonus, was gone. They'd replaced rugs, swapped out artwork. Pictures on the wall were all of them. None of me. Not one. I went into the office nook. That's where I lost it. They had a big binder sitting there, labeled Property Docs, Flathead. Inside were utility bills, some receipts, and then, I swear to God, a fake deed. A fake document showing the cabin as being owned by Tessa only. They even printed out some made-up agreement with scribbles and bullet points saying stuff like, all family has equal rights and managed by Mark and Lacey. Like it was some committee. I looked at Mark. What the hell is this? He shrugged. We just put things in order. You didn't seem to care about it. Tessa chimed in, sitting down on the armrest like this was a talk show. You always said it was a family place. We're just making that real. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I walked out, drove home in silence. When I got back, I went to my fireproof safe, pulled out the original deed with only my name on it, pulled the notarized agreement her parents signed, read every line again, even though I already knew what it said. Then I made copies of everything, and I sent them along with a letter to the one person they'd never expect, Tessa's uncle. He's her mom's older brother. Real estate lawyer in Kerdew Lane. Sharp as a knife. Met him once, maybe twice. He was blunt, no nonsense, and had no love for Mark or Lacey. I'd heard stories at barbecues. Old family beef didn't matter to me at the time, but now that was leverage. In my letter, I wrote, they're trying to take property that's not theirs. I've attached the original deed and the agreement they signed. I wanted someone in the family to see this before I go the legal route. That was it. No threats. Just facts. 3 days later, I got a call. It was Tessa's uncle. His exact words, "Oh, I've been waiting for something like this." So, yeah, Tessa's uncle, his name's Richard, calls me 3 days after I send the documents. First thing he says is, "Oh, I've been waiting for something like this." No small talk. No fake politeness. Just straight into it. He asked a few questions. I answered everyone with receipts, photos, the signed agreement, the real deed, even a picture of me standing outside the cabin the day I bought it. He didn't just believe me. He wanted to believe me because apparently he had history with Mark and Lacey. Your in-laws tried this kind of crap years ago, he told me. They wormed their way into Lacey's aunt's estate and tried to get her to add their names to some farmland in Idaho. I shut that down fast. I asked him, "Can you help?" He goes, "I'll enjoy every second of it." That same day, he sent them a certified letter, cease and desist, demanding immediate vacancy and warning that they'd violated the terms of a signed agreement. He included the real deed, told them they were now trespassing. That lit the fuse. The next day, Tessa blew up my phone. I ignored every call. Finally, I picked up around 9 p.m. She was screaming before I even said hello. "You got my family threatened with legal action," she shouted. "They broke the agreement," I said. "They tried to fake a deed. That's fraud. They were just trying to make it feel like home. It's not some cold asset, Rob. It's part of the family." I told her it was never part of her family's anything. It was mine. I bought it. Paid for every inch. She never put in a single cent. Her name wasn't on any paper. Then she dropped the line that finally made it clear. "If you had just let it go, none of this would have happened." I hung up. She came home that night furious, tossed her keys, slammed the fridge door, and accused me of trying to destroy her family. I stayed calm. I said, "You lied. You tried to steal from me. That's not family." She started crying, saying she didn't know what Mark and Lacey were doing, but I knew better. She stood right there in the cabin and smiled when I saw the fake documents. She watched me read them like it was a joke. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Richard sent a formal eviction notice. Gave them 14 days to vacate the property or face court. Instead of packing, they doubled down. They filed a report with the Flathead County Clerk trying to record their fake document as a valid title transfer. Richard caught it immediately. He filed an injunction and sent them a warning that if they kept it up, they'd be looking at felony fraud charges. Then, this part blew my mind. They tried to play dirty. Mark filed a restraining order against me, claiming I had shown up at the cabin threatening violence and trying to intimidate them into leaving. Said he feared for his and Lacey's safety. Thought out lie. I had never even raised my voice. Hadn't touched anyone. Richard shut it down in less than 48 hours with photos, timestamps, and copies of my mail records showing I never made contact again after that visit. But by now, I was done playing defense. I told Richard the first wanted to move forward with criminal charges in a civil suit. He said, "Good. They've been getting away with this kind of crap for too long." Tessa started acting weird, quiet, kept to herself. Then one night, I saw her packing a suitcase. I asked where she was going. "To my sister's," she said. "I can't be around you while you're tearing my family apart." I told her flat out, "You should go because I'm not stopping." She left. I didn't try to stop her. A few days later, I got a notice from a lawyer. She'd hired an attorney to look into community property laws in Montana. That's when I realized she wasn't just running home to mommy. She was gearing up to try and claim half the cabin, saying we were married and it should have been shared. I gave everything to Richard. He laughed. "You bought it years before the marriage, paid for it with your own money, and it's titled only to you. She doesn't have a case." Still, she tried. Her lawyer filed a claim that the cabin had become marital property because we'd used it together during the marriage, said Tessa had invested emotional labor into the space and that she believed it to be shared property. Richard responded with 43 pages of documentation, receipts, timelines, her own damn text saying things like "your cabin," and the signed agreement from her parents. That case was thrown out fast. Meanwhile, Mark and Lacey finally moved out, not quietly. They left trash everywhere, ripped out curtain rods, left food rotting in the fridge, and even scrawled "greedy bastard" on the garage wall in spray paint. I drove up and took photos of everything. Richard included them in the damages claim. Tessa texted me 2 days later. Was it worth it? I didn't respond because I wasn't finished yet. After the damage they did to the cabin, Richard advised we press for restitution, a civil damages case. He said it wasn't just about money now. "This is how you stop them from doing it to someone else," he told me. I agreed. We filed a claim for intentional property damage, falsification of documents, legal fees, and trespassing. Altogether, the amount was just over $42,000. Richard said it would scare the hell out of them. I hoped it would. But I also hoped they'd show up in court because if they did, I wanted to look every single one of them in the eye when the judge read my name off the real deed. But before we even got to that part, something else happened, something I never saw coming. Richard called me one morning, sounded almost amused. "You're not gonna believe this," he said. "Your wife just filed to have her name added to the cabin's deed, claimed it was omitted in error." "What?" "She submitted a quitclaim deed, forged, obviously, to the county clerk saying the property was meant to be in both names." I couldn't speak for a second. "She really filed that?" I finally said, "Yep." "Signed it herself?" "Notarized by someone named Becky Alvarez." "Wanna guess who that is?" I had to sit down. Becky Alvarez was Tessa's youngest cousin. Just turned 23. I'd seen her post about getting her notary license online. Tessa roped her into it. Richard had already reported it. He also contacted Becky. Said she had 48 hours to withdraw the false notarization and cooperate or face accessory charges. Becky folded immediately. She cried on the phone, apparently. Said Tessa begged her to sign it and told her it was just cleaning up paperwork. That move changed everything. Now it wasn't just a messy family fight. Now it was criminal, forgery, filing false documents with the county, coercing a notary all over a cabin. Richard told me flat out, "This will go to the DA. If we push it." "You ready for that?" I told him I was. I started preparing for court. We were weeks away from the civil trial for damages, and now Tessa and her parents were also facing the real possibility of criminal charges. But that wasn't even the final twist. No, the final twist came from someone who'd been quiet the whole time. Someone I forgot was even part of the picture. Tessa's sister, Mel. She called me one night, out of nowhere. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year. She'd always kept her distance. Not rude, just not involved. But she called me and said, "I need to talk to you in person." We met at a coffee shop in Missoula. She looked exhausted, sat down, didn't even order anything, just stared at the table and said, "They've been planning this since last year." I just sat there. She went on, "Mom and Dad, Tessa too. I overheard them talking about transferring the cabin. About trying to show it as shared property. They wanted to fix it up, then try and flip it without telling you. Mark kept saying it was too good an asset to waste." Tessa agreed. "I thought they were just venting. I didn't think they'd go this far." I asked her, "Why are you telling me this now?" She looked up and said, "Because Tessa came to me last week and asked me to lie. She wanted me to testify that you told her the cabin would be hers one day, that you said it was our future family home. She even had a written statement ready." My stomach dropped. Mel continued, "I'm not doing that. You've always been good to me. And this isn't right. You need to know what they're willing to do." She handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a printed email thread between Tessa, Mark, and Lacey. It was dated from months ago. They were talking about the exit plan, discussing whether to fake a co-ownership story, and even talking about how Rob won't fight if we corner him emotionally. They wrote that Rob won't fight if we corner him emotionally. I wanted to puke. Mel looked me in the eye and said, "I'll testify if you need me." I nodded. I couldn't even thank her. My jaw was locked. I gave everything to Richard. He read through it all and said, "We're going scorched earth." But the craziest part? We still hadn't even been to court yet. The day of the court hearing came fast. We walked into Flathead County District Court with boxes of documents. Richard looked calm as ever. I was tense but focused. Mark and Lacey sat on the other side of the courtroom, whispering, dressed like they were headed to church. Tessa sat between them, arms crossed, looking bored. They didn't bring a lawyer. I guess they thought they could talk their way out. Big mistake. The judge looked through the packet Richard gave him. Original deed, notarized agreement, emails from Mel, the forged quitclaim deed, even Becky Alvarez's signed statement admitting she was tricked. The judge took his time reading it all. Then he looked straight at Mark and said, "Sir, do you understand the seriousness of falsifying property ownership and attempting to record a fake title?" Mark opened his mouth, but the judge cut him off. "I'm not asking for a speech. Just a yes or no." Mark said yes. Tessa tried to speak up, but Richard stood up immediately. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit a request for immediate summary judgment on all damages, as well as a referral to the district attorney for criminal investigation." The judge agreed. Just like that, bang of the gavel. In front of the whole courtroom, the judge ruled that I was the sole legal owner. He ordered Mark and Lacey to pay $42,680 in damages, repairs, cleanup, legal costs, and court fees. He referred both of them for criminal review over the fake documents and property fraud. Then came Tessa. The judge looked right at her and said, "I've seen a lot of people try to weasel their way into property they didn't earn. But you went out of your way to plan it. You used family to fake legal documents. You tried to manipulate the court. If I had the authority today, I'd throw you in jail myself." She didn't say a word. Outside the courtroom, she tried to talk to me. I didn't stop walking. She said, "I was scared." Okay. I didn't want to lose everything. I turned around and said, "You lost everything because you never had it. You just lied to get close to it." I served her with divorce papers 2 days later. Richard handled it fast. She tried again to claim part of the cabin. She failed again. Mark and Lacey couldn't pay the damages. They ended up getting sued, losing their retirement condo, and now live in a small rental on the edge of Spokane. Their credit is wrecked. No one in the extended family talks to them anymore. Not after the truth came out. As for Becky Alvarez, she lost her notary license and had to pay a fine. But she got off easier than she could have. I let that slide. She was young and dumb, not malicious. Tessa tried to rebuild her image. Posted some sad nonsense on Facebook about betrayal and a controlling husband who turned her family against her. Nobody bought it, especially after Mel posted the email screenshots in the comments. Tessa moved out of state a few months later. Last I heard, she was working part-time at a salon in Boise. Still using her maiden name again. Good. As for me, I kept the cabin, spent a few weekends cleaning it up, fixed what they broke, replaced what they tossed. Hung a new sign by the front porch. No trespassing. No exceptions. But I also learned something from all of it. I let a lot slide. I wanted peace so badly. I ignored warning signs. I put politeness before boundaries. That was my mistake. I won't do that again. I go to the cabin almost every other weekend now. Alone, sometimes with friends. I fish. I chop wood. I sit on the porch with a beer and listen to the trees. And every time I do, I smile because the people who tried to steal it are the ones who lost everything. And me. I finally got it back. Not just the cabin. My peace, my self-respect, and the satisfaction of knowing they'll remember what they did. Every single day, they wake up broke, bitter, and powerless. That's what real revenge looks like. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel.